In this video, we're going to talk about how to do tact planning. First and foremost, takt, T-A-K-T, is the German word for rhythm or baton. It means that you have a schedule that is broken out by location, by zones, that is timed on a rhythm, a time beat. And so if you're doing tact planning, that means you have a schedule that really flows in construction. How do you start with that? Is it just a nice thing? Is it something that you really need? Or, is it something that you can get by without? These are all questions we get asked a lot. I'm telling you, this video's got the answer for you at a high level. So you're going to understand at the end of this, why is tact so important? How can you get started? What key components of the system you must know in order to get work to flow? Okay, so hear me out here. I want you to really connect with me and really hear me on this, because I don't know if I'm going to say it right. Is that tact is the cornerstone, the keystone, and our everything. It's everything to us in construction. If I said to you, hey, when we go out to do a building, we break the project up into zones and we work in zones, what would you say? Would you say that's right? You would. You just said it. Yes, Jason, that's how we do it. And then if I said, we take trade partners, wonderful trade partners that we partner with, and we put them in a sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, into a train, into a sequence, and those trades move from zone to zone throughout our project, what would you say? Yes? Okay, I heard it again. Yes, you said it was yes. You break a project up into zones, and then you take a train of trades and you move through those zones. That's how we build. You agreed. You just said it to me. Yes, that's tact. It means that you have zones and that you move those trades through on a beat. So that's tact. That's what I want you to have on your project so that you can get work to flow. So I'm going to show you over here on the flip charts some cool stuff. If you ever want additional content, I'm going to link you to some videos below. So let me show you this. All right. So tact planning, you have zones. So let's draw these zones here. So that's zone number 1, zone number 2, and zone number 3, however they're configured. And so you have 1, 2, and 3. You'll also have trade partner 1, trade partner 2, trade partner 3, or crews. And they will go from zone to zone to zone on a tact time or on a rhythm. And so if you take these zones over here and you write them up here to the left, and then you say, hey, these trades need to move through these zones on a tact time, and let's say the tact time is a 3-day tact time, and so you have 1 tact time 2, tact time 3. I'll show you how it starts to format. But before we go into that, I want to say that if you have a building and that building is multi-phased, meaning it has an interior as a structure, an exterior, and a site work, each phase will have zones and trades. So your structure may have wound up through the building, through the structural phase, with zones and trades. Your interiors may follow suit and follow that same path with zones and trades, maybe even the same zones. Your exterior may go around the building. Maybe it's east, north, west, south, and it will have its own zones and trades. And then your site work may go around and sequence differently and have its own zones and trades. So a building will have multiple phases, but every phase has zones and trades. When you look at this, all you're seeing, just like we see the trades going through the zones, we're seeing that since these are the zones, you're seeing the trade come through the zones. So this right here, tact time number 1, would show the first crew here. Then it would show the crew in tact time number 2, the crews being there. Then in the third tact time, it would show it like this. And all you're seeing is that train running down the page along these zones, just like it went through the zones or is going through the zones, specifically in the field in construction. And so if you ever see a tact plan, it should look like this, okay? And you would see the zones again on the left. So that's number 1, number 2, and number 3. And then your tact times on the top. And the key point here is that that trade flows, and it flows really nicely. And so that's the most important consideration, is that we break it up by zones, and you package your tact wagons is what we call these, and that you have a format that shows trade flow. And so tact is a great system, and we're going to be covering videos that show you how to use this system continuously. I'd say in about 2 to 3 years, it will be the dominant scheduling system in construction. So you're not going to want to miss out on any of these videos. So now is the time to like and subscribe. That way we can get videos to you on a rhythm, on a takt time. Videos will be published every week, and then we'll start to up it to 2 weeks, and then hopefully one day we get to 5 videos a week of consumable content that you can use to improve your career and to learn cool systems like this. So please like and subscribe below. Okay, so let me tell you the general process for takt planning. This is included in takt training. We call it the takt production system training. There's a 2-hour free course that we do. We have books on it called Takt Planning and Integrated Control, and there are a host of videos on our Lean Takt channel. And eventually we will publish more and more content, blog posts and other resources for you. But I will say that this is the process if you want to get started. Number 1, you have to start with your milestones. So that you need your start and your finish, and what I'll do is I'll put an M, milestones. Once you have your finish milestones, you then need to identify your phases on the project site. For construction, that would be make ready, foundation, superstructure, interiors, exterior, site work, testing and commissioning. What are the major phases that again have their own zones and their own trades? Okay, once you have that, each of those phases must have identifiable zones inside of them, meaning the specific spacing of the geographical locations within the phase. Once you do that, then you can create a proper sequence, meaning you can build your train that goes through that sequence, okay? Once you have that, then you have your phases, meaning then you will see if you have start and end mile zone, you know your phase, you have your zones, and you have your takt time, and you have your sequence that fills in that takt time and that phase. Then number 5 is you can, I'll say, network those phases together. And this is takt planning at its basic form. We show you how to do this in our trainings. Once you have the schedule networked, then you'll do a fresh eyes meeting with the project team. You will manage delays. You will track that schedule and its schedule health with certain KPIs, and you will really use that schedule for a production tool. So why is this so important? Let me explain this. Let's imagine that let's just talk about a car manufacturing plant. In a car manufacturing plant, the people, the materials, and the tool, meaning the machinery, is fixed. At least the machine is bolted to the floor, and the car moves through the factory. In construction, it's the exact same thing, but in reverse. In construction, the car, or the actual zone in this case, is locked down to the floor. It's anchored with rebar, and what moves through to complete the work? The trades. And so those trades move from area to area, from zone to zone, so they have to be flowing. So this work gets done faster as work flows here. So what we need to flow are the trades. Now this is why takt is so important. When you create these takt sequences, not only are they in a sequence that is logical, that's moving the same direction and in the same order, but it's moving so that you have trade flow. Meaning you see this 2 and this 2, that's going to create a nice diagonal arrow that shows that you have good flow. If you had in your schedule another 2 here, another 2 here, another 2 here, this is what we call trade burdening. And it's the primary reason that we don't finish projects on time. Because once you start to have a trade or a crew scheduled in multiple areas, they can't do it, and they in fact slow down as they start to increase their labor. So I do want to make a point. When we start to see this in schedules, and when people abandon the takt process, the takt scheduling system, this right here is the cause for crash landed projects. It's the cause for a lot of construction injuries. It's the cause for our project teams not making it home on time. It's the cause for a lack of productivity. It's the cause of a lot of disrespect. Literally, trade burdening outside of a flow is like the worst thing that we can do in construction scheduling. It's absolutely horrible. And so takt planning done right means that you will always maintain this line of balance and the trades moving from zone to zone to zone. That's why it's so important, because it protects all key concepts of advanced and accelerated productivity without hurting trade partners and people. Okay, so how do we get started? Well, first and foremost, like I said, please sign up for our 2-hour free TACT training, for our tax production system training. Please order the TACT Planning and Integrated Control book, and please sign on to our leantact.com website for any resources, any of our free content. And I do want you to know that our team of in-house engineers can help you start your project today, or well, probably tomorrow, but right away, and help you get off on the right foot. We're ready and available for you. But if you want to get started, here are my suggestions. Number one, inside your building, you have a number of different phases. I have found that project teams do really well when they start with the interiors. It is definitely a good grouping of rhythmic work. It's easy, floor by floor, to create zones. It has a standard sequence of trades, and you can go create a TACT plan that's really nice and rhythmic, and you can get a good feel for the system to start. So that's number one. Number two, the main thing I want you to remember as you start to experiment with these formats and you really get a good view of what TACT planning is, I want you to remember this concept of leveling. So if you have a 40,000 square foot floor, you will not break it up in even zones by square foot. You won't do it. What you will do is you will analyze each of these. You can do it by room, or you can do it by grid square or by column square. You will analyze the density, and for more information on that, you'll have to come to the free training. But you will analyze it for density on a scale of 1 to 10 is my preferred method. Room by room, or grid square by grid square, or column square by column square. You'll scale those 1 to 10, and you will not create zones based on square foot. You will create zones based on density, meaning that you will make zones in here based on the total sum of the work density of the zone, meaning that as you go through here, you may find yourself with a smaller zone, right? This one's larger, a little bit smaller, larger, this one's smaller. What that means is a trade can go through here and experience a similar amount of density. Maybe this is a normal amount of work. Maybe this is really dense. Maybe you have some packed, close proximity rooms. Maybe this is less dense. Maybe over here on the right, maybe you have like the elevators, the bathrooms, some other areas. The zone size will be smaller, but the level of effort, the work between each of the zones will be equal. If you do that, you will make sure your trades experience a similar amount of work in each zone. The other thing is, the trades that are going to go through these zones, let me just go ahead and showcase it like this. Let's say you have a trade partner and a crew that takes a certain amount of time and does a certain amount of work. Maybe you have another one that takes a long time with a lot of work and it's a big crew. And then you have a number of other trades that are fairly similar sized to the first. You won't go any faster as you take this journey through the zones than that slowest trade. So you may need to break this up into 2 crews. I didn't say arbitrarily add more labor. I said you may need to break it up into 2 crews so that your crews actually look like this as they're going through, which means that they're leveled. If you don't level it, you'll never go faster than that slowest trade. The other thing I want to say is that how many zones you have on a construction project can really make a difference with how fast you can complete that project. For instance, if you have 2 zones on that floor, if you then switched to 4 zones, you would see something like this. And what you would notice immediately when you switch from 2 zones to 4 zones is the start dates can be the same, but the end dates are wildly different. There's a massive difference between your end date for larger zones and less zone numbers, and smaller zones but more zones themselves, because of something called Little's Law, meaning that because these successor activities are starting sooner, the overall project finishes sooner, or the overall phase finishes sooner, without overburdening trades and without overburdening any of your resources. You might need some materials sooner than others, but everything being equal, the more zones you have, the faster you will go. So when you're using takt planning, and let's say you did go ahead and start with your interior space, and you leveled your zones to where each zone had a similar level of effort, okay? And you looked at your crews and you made sure that they were adding a similar amount of value. The other thing you would do is make sure you have the right number of zones. These are the main considerations when you're creating a takt plan. And now I'll talk to you about what you can't do, or else you will fail with the system. So this is a summary video. Don't get freaked out if you don't. You're like, Jason, I want more. I know you do. That's why we have the other training courses. Like, I'm just giving you a high level. When you do takt, start out where you can be successful. Make sure you level the zones, level the crews, and make sure you have the right number of zones. But do not do the following. If you only stick with a 5-day takt time and you move your takt times or your activities and lock them between the weekends, the takt production system will fail for you, meaning it will not work properly. I can explain it later, but you will almost never stick with a 5-day takt time. It will almost always be a 4, 3, 2, or a 1. Please do not do takt without leveling like I've shown you. Also, please do not do takt without having the right number of zones according to the calculator, which you can find on leantakt.com. And please know that in a takted system that we must always have buffers at the end, and that's one of the reasons that we go from our normal schedules where you have a larger series of zones to what we call an optimized zone count, so that you can get these buffers at the end and you can absorb and manage delays, which actually, interestingly enough, we have in another video on this YouTube channel. But you must have buffers, so please don't ever use the takt production system without buffers. And so in closing, I want to say the purpose of this system is so that you, as you're working through zones, can prepare the work ahead of the actual train of trades, so that when your train of trades is there, they work in one process flow and can install work right the first time. And so that you can finish as you go behind the work. And so in your schedule, once you have it, let me just go ahead and draw this. You're always going to want to be looking ahead and preparing work, installing it right the first time in the window of time that you're actually doing the building, and you will want to make sure that you finish work as you go on that rhythm so that you don't have to come back to it. If you do that, you will really gain in time in finances on your budget if you do this. We have clients that are saving up to 20% on their overall project schedules from a time perspective, and they're gaining 0.5%, 1.5%, some trade partners all the way up to 10% gross profit on their projects by implementing the system. And so in the description below, we're going to link you to the Takt Planning and Integrated Control book. Amazing book, second revision. We're going to link you to the website, and we're going to link you to that free template where you can get started, and also a few links to where you can take your next training journey. You're going to love this. It's time to get on board, because this is where construction is going. You will want to implement takt on your project. It is the keystone. It is the cornerstone. I'm totally underselling this. It's time for us to learn it together. Let's do it together. On we go.